thank you for the hard work. We know how diligent you are with the general warrants. We appreciate it. Bruce has
Boy,
a
I tell
couple.
you, that's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Well, I got an infrastructure warrant for a total sum of $511,119.29. And it's payment up to several contractors, Connor Construction for $483,695, Bloom Brothers Oil Company for $3,600, Green Mountain Restaurant Equipment,
No, that's
Probably an ice machine.
yeah.
yeah, $1,500. And whatever EJP is, I don't know what that is.
Prescott's.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3,320.20. Charbonneau's for 6,370. Eric Excavating for 4,582.50. Co-op, St. Albans Co-op for 53.17. Sticks and Stuff for 781. There's a piping company here, piping company,
Oh, sorry, Veritech.
Veritex, yep, 10,750, and a few miscellaneous ones for Webb's for 1,143.13. So that for a total of $511,119.29. So I make a motion we approve this warrant.
And while we're talking about that one, that big one for Connor, that's obviously part of our installment plans for the
Oh, yeah.
building the garage.
Yeah.
The rest of it's all related to the sewer. Most of it is related to the sewer line extension.
The rest of it is all the sewer project.
We had like a pre-buy in there for fuel oil.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had a couple of small things that came out, but most of it's related to the sewer line extension, which we had to do a pretty
So
good.
it's a pretty good
amount of
warrant,
work.
$500,000. And
Yeah, bigger than Stan's.
so I make a suggestion that we approve this warrant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
Okay, one more, dated November 4th for the Department of Public Works. Capital, out of the capital account, it's United Rents, Inc. for $22,451.14.
Yep.
Make a motion, we approve the warrant for $22,451.14.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we're on to payroll with Jessica.
All right, I have two payroll warrants. The first is November 1st, 2019 for $21,556.21. And the second's October 25th, 2019 for $30,022.70. I make a motion that we approve these two payroll warrants.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Our employees are paid. Now, Hal, do you have any minute corrections?
No, but I move that we accept the minutes. Select board meeting of Monday, October 21st is written.
Okay, perfect. Anybody have any suggested changes to the minutes? Hearing none.
Thank you.
Call for a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna move on to public comment. Is there anyone here to make a public comment?
I actually do, it's a safety comment. Coming down to town hall this evening, there were two people walking in very, very dark clothing on Lake Street, but I could not see until the very last moment. Fortunately, there were no cars coming in the opposite direction, so I was able to swing into the oncoming traffic lane. I just would like to say, if you're walking at night, try to put something reflective or a blinking light on you so that drivers can see you. It's just a dangerous situation, particularly now, light comes in so, sunlight comes in, sunset comes in so early.
Hey, Al, whereabouts was that? Was that the lower part? Down near the farm and it passes around the
Just to the
cemetery?
right beyond the VFW.
Why, it's
That
down
area
from
down
the
there.
cemetery down, it's
Yeah, brutal.
really dark.
And it's, of course, it's dark at 5 o'clock now, which is great.
So maybe we can do something about that sometime after we take the road over.
Yeah, or make the state do it, and then we'll take the road over. But that's another thing we need to
Yeah, it's just a
discuss.
matter of whatever road you're on.
Yeah.
Right.
Try to be thinking.
It's like that all over down there.
I know.
Up Brigham,
All right, so any other comment from anyone? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to agenda item number 5, which is a update with our project manager, Matt Young, for the Department of Public Works relocation project.
And Matt, I gotta tell you, I drove over there Sunday and there were guys working, actually, two
Oh,
guys
yeah.
working there.
Yeah,
That place looks really nice.
it does
It's
look,
just, it's huge. I mean, you,
Are we getting the paving in? That's my only question.
Maybe we can start tomorrow.
Perfect.
first
concrete looks
course.
good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It should be done tomorrow.
On the financial picture side of things, we're pretty much, I would say, everything that we've budgeted for purchasing on the building side, we've spent what was budgeted, and we're starting to hit into our contingency. We have a contingency of $240,000. We started hitting into about $3,000 of that.
And what percentage of the job are we at right now?
$3,800 of that.
What percentage complete are we right now?
I'd say
would you say?
overall, probably closer to 65 to 70% of the job. So 100%, and I'll run through this real quickly. 100% of the exterior of the building is essentially it's weather tight now. We've got the panels in, the windows in, the doors are in, and now it's really moving inside. Before we go inside, like the outside, all of the cast in place concrete work, site work is 100% of that is all completed. The first course of the base, like Al said, is going to start tomorrow. That'll make a huge difference out there too, once you see some of the blacktop portion of that gets completed.
You might be going into the contingency funds, but you're at a point at construction right now where you shouldn't be running into any big surprises.
No, the big surprises are pretty much done.
Yeah.
We actually, if you were to look at the building side of the budget and the bricks and mortar side of what we spent to date, we're within. I mean, Connor's contract right now is at 2,996, and we basically have budgeted 2,990. So we're within $30,000 of what we budgeted for the building side of things. Now, the biggest risk right now is the sewer component of it. That work has started, and if I were to do a cost and complete right now, my guess is that we're gonna be right there on the contingency. So we'll end up using up the contingency to finish up the sewer project, but we should not exceed beyond what the global project budget was budgeted at, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What kind of problems could you run into? And what kind of problems would you anticipate running into, or if you could anticipate any, with sewage?
It's the directional drilling is the biggest risk.
Yeah.
The open trench is more predictable, and Albans actually has a lot of the peon water components already completed, and the open trench portion of the sewer of that is completed. Now it's going back over to where the garage is, making that final connection. That's open trench, and then getting the directional drilling component. So that's the biggest risk. But even the worst case scenario on the directional drilling, my prediction is that we'll still be within what we budgeted for the contingency
Yeah.
side.
I've done directional boring before.
Yeah.
And some of the work that I've done, and we've done subsurface
Yeah.
investigations before we bored, so that we wouldn't run into, we could change our directions or change our routes.
Yeah.
Because as advanced as it's gotten, you still can't, run around a piece of ledge or a large rock or
Yeah.
boulder in the ground. But, yeah.
And moving
Who's doing the boring, by the way?
we're looking at ECI.
ECI?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really the only ones in town that have the capabilities and the
This
machinery.
is something interesting. Look at Sunderland Hollow, Sunny Hollow.
Yeah,
They're direct boring down there right now. And boy, they're doing an outstanding job.
yeah.
Yeah.
Once they finish there, they're coming to us.
Yeah.
So the salt shed, so that's good. We're in the green on the garage. You're
Yep.
estimating that we could be seeing a move in mid-January.
Yep, we are, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so the interiors, all the rough inspection has been completed now. Now it's a matter of drywalling. So now we're running
Drywall.
into the finishing phase of the interior.
So your inspections are all done by the state
Yep,
for your rough-ins and everything?
yep.
And
Yep,
closing
those are
walls
passed.
up, you have to close up.
Yep,
Good.
Yep.
Bless you.
Thank you.
yeah, those are ready to be closed up. On the salt shed side of things, again, we're on hold by the V-Trans, and I've been waiting for them to respond to the bid package that we had submitted. and it's been crickets. So,
So you're looking at
So
spring
safe-
2020 start.
yeah, safe to say we will not be able to start construction this year. So we're looking at the spring. So the direction now is to, as soon as we receive comments, we'll bid it out this winter and then set it for a spring of 2020 construction start.
It's not as if you're without a place, so.
Yeah.
So it's
You can just leave
not
it there.
ideal, but you're not down and out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Any other questions for Matt from anyone? Anything you'd like to say before you go?
No, I mean, the contractors have been doing a great job, and Alan's been really kicking on the sewer side of things, and so far so good. The costs have been coming in very well, and we've searched high and low to keep the materials costs down, so he's done really well with that.
You know, I've been down a few times since they started construction. One of the things that impressed me about Connor is you can judge, if you know anything about construction,
Yeah.
you can judge a lot by the condition of the job.
Well, I actually made a comment to his
Yeah.
super because way back I said that's absolutely true. I mean,
Yeah.
I could walk on a job site, I can tell how well it is by how it's coordinated,
Absolutely.
lay down space,
And the
and
same with me. Yeah.
absolutely, yes.
But they do a good job.
Yeah,
Things have been
it's a
going
clean
good.
site. They're
I
doing
like
well.
those numbers too. You could read those from Lake Street.
Nice. All right. Thank you,
Great
Matt.
job.
you.
Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. So we're gonna move on to the town manager's report.
Hopefully we'll be brief. So first we have Vermont Land Trust, so we have, I think Representative Small through, right? You're from the Land Trust?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yep,
And so if you could come up and just briefly explain the
Sure.
project, that would be
Okay.
wonderful.
all right. And my name's Alan Carnetz with the Vermont Land Trust, and with us are Marie Frey and Richard Hudak, because I'm here to represent them. And the reason I'm here, and I don't know if you've gotten some of the other accompanying information, but the reason I'm here is I'm working with the Hudak family in a conservation project on their farm, and as you know, we've done a number of projects around St. Albans town and Swanton, and their property happens to be in both towns, in Swanton and St. Albans. And, I mean, in this case, we just want to check in. This is more of a check-in with the town. As I think I mentioned, we've met with the planning commission already, and in both towns, we've also met in Swanton. And the idea is to just check in with the town, you know, to make sure there's no conflict with conserving this piece of land, because as you may know, when we conserve a piece of land, protect a piece of property, it basically takes away the right to subdivide and do other commercial development. And obviously, this property in its proximity, it's right on Route 7. I'm sure you probably know where it is. And maybe just a little bit of words from Richard or Marie just about why we're here and why you're planning to work with us. At this point, we're in the early stages of the project, so we haven't even gotten an appraisal. And again, our intent is just to check in with the town. The Planning Commission has given our support, but we just wanted to make doubly sure to meet with both Planning and Select Board to see if there was any comments going forward, and just again to brief you and to keep you updated about what our plans are. Richard or Marie?
You know, I mean, my family's been on this farm since 1952, and their generations. Our son is interested in farming there, and you know, we just feel like we'd like to remove the burden of development, so that the farm would be in perpetuity,
Sure.
designated for agriculture.
Okay. And in the process, if you would explain a little
Sure,
bit and correct
sure.
me if I'm wrong. So the process that the land trust uses is you appraise a piece of property with its development rights, and then again without it, and you pay the difference?
Correct. That's, I mean, in some cases, we can't pay the full amount. Sometimes the landowner might accept less, but
But you
yes,
make a
exactly.
deal.
Going through, you know,
And then if
we
you
do a
wanna
double
take-
appraisal. You know, we look at the appraiser says, okay, here's what the full market value is. You know,
Yeah.
if it could be developed, maybe you could put on 5, 6 houses or whatever on a specific property, or in your case, maybe more. But yes, exactly, Brendan, the appraiser, we ask the appraiser to give us a value unrestricted,
Right.
and then hypothetically, what's the value if it's restricted, and they'll use comparable sales.
And then can you buy the development rights back from the land trust?
No, you cannot.
Never.
Because no, it's the strongest, the eminent domain. The town, city government, the state still has power of eminent domain. So like if a pipeline or a power line goes through or something like that, there's not much that we and the landowners can, so that power remains.
Yeah.
But you cannot purchase the development rights back. They're severed. The state's attorney also has a role in this in terms of the Vermont Land Trust has a legal defense fund. So the point to remember is that this lasts long after their ownership, and it's the next owner
definitely.
and the next owner.
It's
So,
Forever, yeah.
I joke with people that all bets are off at the next revolution. But this is the most secure way to protect a piece of land.
Yeah, the only way that they could really change anything would be an act of the legislature, right?
Well, even an act of a legislature, we get federal grants in there, so there's
Oh.
USDA money. It's pretty entangled.
Wow. So you're talking in perpetuity. You made sure that this is going to be in perpetuity. I don't blame you.
Well, the thing is,
I don't blame you.
It's very high quality agricultural land.
Definitely.
If you look on the soil map, it's really, it's a 10,
Yeah.
And it's just a crime, in my opinion, to
Even
use
think of
land
it.
like that
Yeah.
for anything outside of agriculture.
When I was on the golf course board of directors, I approached.
The adjoining property, right?
Right. I tried to approach the land trust about buying the development rights of the golf course, and they said we're not in the business of
Maybe you talked to me,
Conservative.
maybe, Brendan.
maybe. No, but I see.
If it was in the last 20 years, you probably did talk to me.
Hey, if there's anything we can do to help, I think you've got our full support.
And I know you do employ some local
Definitely.
youth from your farm.
We've always only employed
Yes.
local.
And it's such a good business to have in town.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was nice to look at this map and see so many preserved parcels, because if hypothetically the town does
Grow.
develop and grow, we're still gonna have farming and agriculture as
Oh,
part of the
definitely.
town identity, so.
I'm a firm believer that, not every piece of land in this town has to be developed,
Yeah.
for whatever.
Well, I mean,
And,
just even in terms of the aesthetic quality. of the
Right.
community,
Yeah.
Nobody wants to live in Los Angeles,
I thought I recognized you when I came in, but I didn't recognize you without your farm.
You're out of place. Richard was out of
I've never seen
place.
you anyplace besides there.
so you've got
I think, you do a really good job over there. I love your vegetables.
Yeah,
My
right,
wife and I buy from you
yeah,
all summer long, and thank you for, being the people that you are and
So
want
I-
to take a little pride in our town.
I see
Thank
you've
you for being a customer.
Yeah.
I see you've got a letter signed by the planning commission chair, a letter of support. Is there something that would be helpful? If you
Yeah,
also had-
absolutely. Yes, a similar kind of letter from the select board would
Would somebody
Help us.
make a?
Yeah, I'll make that motion, but the first one is also compliment the Hudak Farm, because they work very closely with the solid waste district. And they do all the composting of food from schools and hospitals and a lot of other organizations.
This is
Which is a major help in
Yeah.
keeping the landfills less.
this is money well spent by your program.
Well, that's our intent.
So
Thank
I'll
you.
do it.
You folks are
We're
doing a
not
lot
there
of
yet.
things right.
I should say we're still over a year. I mean, we're still in the early phases. It takes a long time to work through this process, but yes.
So
So
do you-
I'll make the motion that the select board approves and supports the development of that the farm be turned into a conserved area.
And,
I'll
you,
second
Second
that.
it.
and then, would you be willing to amend to
Sure.
give me authority to sign a
Yes.
letter of support on
Yeah.
behalf of the board?
Yes.
Okay, so that amendment, can somebody second that amended
Yeah.
motion? Okay, so that, I think I followed procedure correctly.
Oh, you did, I believe, yes.
Okay, any further questions, comments? All in
Oh,
favor?
Aye.
But
Aye.
Okay.
I did
so-
just have a question. Where do you guys get your funding?
Good question. Funding comes from a variety of sources. There's some state conservation funding that comes through the property transfer tax. So as more real estate gets sold
Yeah.
or across the state, more money goes into this conservation fund. Some of that money goes for affordable housing. That's why they call it the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board. but then some of it is going to conservation. And then we also get some federal grants through USDA. There's some farmland protection money nationally that Vermont has done a pretty good job of getting those grants, and that has to be matched with state funds. And we also do private funding. We have some foundation funding sometimes, depending on the property. We approach different foundations, and sometimes I do local fundraising campaigns. I haven't really done much here in Franklin County, but occasionally on high-priced properties in Chittenden County or whatever, we do it's a mix. I would say majority of it here in Franklin County is state and federal, and in other regions or areas it could be more private, or as much private money coming in. Yep, because we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So donations can be tax deductible as well.
So I worked on a program like this, but in a different state, and it was
Oh, okay.
the local municipality had to cost share as well.
Yeah, and in some states, there's actually where county government is more of a role. There's county that they make bond issues for land conservation, exactly, and they'll fund, counties themselves will fund projects. So, yep.
So we'll have that letter to you I think we can get that by the end of the week out in the mail.
Very
You just
Work
want a
on it.
copy and paste
Yeah.
of the.
Very good, and you've got my email and all that.
We do,
Or it's
yeah,
in there
Jen does
somewhere.
here.
Do you
Yeah.
just want a copy and paste of the planning commission letter with a?
I'll let you, however you want to, whatever
Do
works.
that, yeah.
Whatever is easiest.
Be happy
Thank
to
you.
work on that.
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
Thank
All right, well,
for
thank
coming
you.
in.
Thanks for your
Thank you.
support.
Very much.
Yep.
Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
support. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
So the second item, we're letting you know that we did apply for a grant. It was a highly competitive grant. It was called the Vermont Governor's Council on Physical Fitness. We had asked for some equipment to go to Bay Park, various different types of equipment. We did not get that, just as a follow-up. Tie that goal for you.
How much was that grant for?
I don't remember.
The total pool was 20,000 that they were going to split
And we
around the
asked for
state.
how?
We asked for 20,000.
Yeah, I think we're asking for it all.
But whatever they could give.
We're being greedy, we're, yeah.
No,
Just go
I
big,
thought it was
you know?
great,
Go big or go home.
We asked for 19,000.
Anyway,
So
so,
just before you go on, in that the grant was not funded, is there anything that, is this Parks and Recreation? Parks?
Yeah.
it is.
Is there anything that we could do to raise or encourage people to donate money for this equipment?
I don't know, we hadn't thought about that. I keep my eyes open for grants all the time.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the public and memorials and things like that.
Back in the summer of 2017, this discussion of equipment came up between Alan and I sitting in his office. It was one of his ideas that I kind of latched onto. We took it to the Parks Committee, who fully supported it, and a grant came about. Alan and I privately talked about maybe reaching out to a couple of local donors who might look to fund something like that. Another thing that we could think about would be allowing like a business entity to be able to bolt a plaque to the piece of equipment if they purchased it. I mean, I guess if we ask the Parks Committee to come up with a couple of funding ideas where people could sponsor it, that
What kind
might
of
be.
equipment are you looking for? Or
It's ADA accessible exercise equipment to put near the path.
Outdoor type of equipment, put
You know, like
alongside the path.
like SATEC put in a few years ago. Well, that was back when I was in school.
I think there's a piece or two at Houghton Park right now too.
Yeah.
There's a stationary bike.
Is it that expensive? I mean,
Yeah, they were about four or 5,000 a piece.
But like if
But at that level, it's a good it's a good
Yeah,
a
it's
good
a
ask
reasonable-
for a business.
Right.
They could sponsor a whole piece of our equipment.
oh,
or
$4,000 or
station.
Yeah, that's a
$5,000,
good
why
idea.
couldn't we afford that?
We can.
Why do we have to go out looking for somebody to
I think we
donate?
put a little in the budget
It's
for
in,
next
it's
year.
in the rec budget right now,
Yeah.
but what Al's saying is could we ask for money
I
for
would like-
donation?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the business and other private citizens, because it can that sense of community
Oh, yeah.
and
yeah.
helping one another, as opposed to we funding it through town money, which I agree we can do, but I think it would be a greater sense if
I think we should
My
do
only thought is that, there's, right now, the city's going out for, they're asking a lot of people for money right now for several different projects. And rather than just not have it, if we can't find people that'll donate it, if we've got the money, why don't we just buy it?
Well, that's another thing. I wanted to bring it up later. Well, we're talking about exercise equipment. We're talking about parks. We're talking about the Stonehouse. We have a pretty sizable sum of money. We've got a grant that we're executing. Why can't we develop, and I don't want to get to, this, the one thing that scared me with the garage being a private developer is the soft costs when you get into a large, especially municipal project, is you spend a lot of money on engineers and consultants and historical reclamation experts. When can we get to the point where we can develop a plan to use every nickel of the money that we have sitting in the Stonehouse Revitalization Fund, use it, every nickel of it as best we can, and then go in there and do it, and get it done. Because every year that we sit, that money's losing money to inflation.
Well, you just said that out loud, so Alan is pretty good, as referenced earlier, about spending money.
Hey, if you can develop a plan, like a 2,
have
3,
a-
4, 5-point plan of this is how much it'll cost every step of the way, let's start knocking that out like now.
We are knocking it out, and we are knocking it out very quickly, or as quickly as we can, but the challenge is getting the right vendor, just like the windows. We tried to spend that money a year earlier, when we did, but it's a little painful when you're dealing with a historic building, because you can't just go to Lowe's.
Well, your choices of vendors are pretty narrow.
So we will
Right.
do it,
Yeah.
but you're right, so we can see what's left after, the recent grant, which
But
is
we-
the new cupola and the paint.
I just
and
hate
the
to see a
windows.
pot of 6 figures worth of money sitting in an account while with
But I'd
that
like to see the
building.
building become more occupied and used.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
like anything
I
that
mean,
we
that's
can
why
do.
it's there
It
to
was
begin with.
proposed-
But if you're like we had talked about, there's like $13,000 in electrical work we needed to do, and we
That's
applied
being
for a grant.
proposed during the budget process.
So you're gonna
we're
come
on
back for it?
Yeah, we talked about it actually, yep,
Do
to spend some of that money. How much of it though, I don't remember.
It's between 15 and 20,000 to get us started this year.
well, the money's sitting in the.
For what, Alan?
It's a Stonehouse Revitalization Fund warrant.
Electrical.
Oh,
I mean, on the suggestion of the board, we are working on closing out the outer. So all the doors with the grant, the wooden doors are being done. I just checked in with the contractor. Excuse me, they're looking great. They're coming along good. They all stripped down. Jesus, that paint was about that thick after you got it stripped off. But,
wasn't any lead paint on here, was it?
Nope, not at all. And, all the new tongue and groove boards are being put on, and they're getting repainted. So, and then the other ones, like Carrie said, the metal ones took a long time to find the right vendor to weld them and stuff like that. But I think in closing it, that part is getting along good. I think we're taking the smart steps to do it without jumping in full force, and because when we start to talk about like the roof over the men's room and stuff, that's gonna get a little costly, and
What?
we gotta be
Do it.
careful, you know.
Well, before you even think of doing any electrical work inside, you gotta get the building weather tight.
And that's what we're
Yeah.
doing right now,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I mean,
Plans.
even if there is an expensive chunk that we have to do, let's do it. Like, let's get it over. The money's sitting there. Let's do it. Let's get it over with. And if we need more money after, let's talk. Now,
Alan, with the electrical, are you going to have, so to speak, an outside box that would support some sort of concert music?
Yeah,
That was part of the plan. A lot of the vendors for Bay Day, the concerts and different stuff, we have to run the cords all through the window or whatever. I think before I came on board down here, some of the power had been upgraded a little bit. We got some 50 amp breakers and different stuff in there. It's a matter of just getting outside pedestals and moving that power outside into a lock box where it's easy to flip the lid and get a wire to it.
Put the weather tight boxes out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Kinda like
50
cameras.
amps, boy, that's not bad.
Well, we got some bigger ones too, it's just using that as an example, but yeah, upgrading the power, you know, should have a little bit more power in there, and
So what's the service going into it? How big is the service, any idea?
200 amps.
200?
They're doing everything right. I don't I wouldn't ask Alan to do any more, but continue focusing on what you're currently doing. And that you're heading in the right direction.
I mean, we're gonna develop the electrical scope and we can
Right.
go out to bid whenever we're ready.
Do it, yeah.
The only problem, the only thing, and going along with what Stan said, the only thing is we're doing it, let's do it right. I mean, 200 amp service is not a big service to a building where you're gonna have, you could have possibly have 25, 30 vendors out there. They need power, you know, and 200 amp service won't cut it.
But- all right, that was my 2 cents. Every year
So,
that we sit on
in the
that
future,
money,
you know, as you grow and go and grow.
Yeah.
we
I
just
think we gotta take little leaps.
Sure.
We're headed in the right direction. I think we got a lot of projects going on.
Hey, you know the old saying, you know, journey of a million miles starts with one single step.
It's been a crazy year, you know, we've had a lot of projects. And
right.
I
But-
just think we stay steady and keep moving forward is the best.
It's just every
Yeah.
year that we don't use that money, we lose dollars on it. That's all. But anyway, no, I'm not trying to discount anything that you're doing. You're, you know, saying that you're not doing something, but
You've done well, Alan. We're not gonna get in your way.
right. If anything,
You tell them to
if
spend
you,
money, you have to. and
You're a
not-
fool to try to lay in front of a train.
yeah.
Please stop telling them that. All right, so are we good? Can we move on? Okay. So the last item here is just to highlight that we're giving you the draft version of the interim bylaws we briefly discussed at the last meeting. And as you saw in that we warned it last week, this hearing on the interim bylaws revolves around allowing daycare centers in certain 2 areas of town that currently from an oversight were omitted. And we're gonna discuss it on the 18th in a hearing at that time. Do you have any questions though for Becky or, she's gonna be at that next meeting to answer anything the public might have, but if you have any beforehand, let me know.
I want to thank
Pretty
you.
straightforward.
So you're not talking like an in-home daycare, you're talking a full.
Commercial
commercial-
daycares, I guess
commercial
is what they
daycare.
call them.
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good.
and we're so
Affordable
drastically short.
daycare.
maybe, probably.
Hope so, but even any daycare at this point, we're in such
Well,
a short.
There's, like any other
Um,
business, they have to, you know, they gotta float their own boat, so
Yep.
affordable.
I know.
Is there any such thing anymore?
It's extremely hard.
There's
Yeah.
wait
given
Well, there's
all
a-
the regulations
yes.
and the quality of the staff that you employ.
And
I did 2
regulation.
daycare centers in the school and taking a look at the state's requirements
Mhm.
for daycares. I mean, just
Unbelievable.
child to adult ratios is unreal.
Yeah.
You can't, you sit back and you say, no wonder daycare costs so much. You know, you can, you know, 1 adult for every 3 or 4 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds. I mean, 5 2-year-olds. Holy smokes.
The 5 3-year-olds have tons of it.
Yeah, and then you've got, I mean, these regulations are so exhaustive, they go down to like the temperature of your floor cannot dip below a certain degree, and
Oh.
in case they decide to take a nap on the floor, they don't want their faces to get cold. It's just, yeah, it's anybody that wants to undertake it, we want to give them the ability to in any part of town with a DRB review. Other than that, good luck.
It's actually gonna be a select board review.
At some point in time,
Right.
government, not necessarily municipal government, but maybe needs to help support these institutions. If we want to continue employment growth, we're gonna have to find a cheaper way to take care of our children from the parents' point of view, and that may mean government intervention.
Yeah. Daycares are, once they're established, they're run by the state. I mean, your owners, you have owners, but they've got to abide by the state regulations and they're pretty stiff.
Yep. So, anybody have any questions about the interim bylaw as it's written, or
It's fine.
everybody happy?
The only thing I'm not happy with is we talked about the contributions for sidewalks
Hmm.
from contractors and the amounts of, David Schofield brought in his,
Right, but that has nothing
List.
to do with this specific
Right.
bylaw. It's an interim bylaw only for this one.
Yeah, and that other,
okay,
You're
that other,
talking about the sidewalk ordinance.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
yes, I'm sorry, I thought we were,
Yeah.
talking
We
at
can
a
talk about
broader
that.
scale. But I do want to talk about that tonight.
Okay, that, the manager's report, we good? Any questions for Carrie?
No more questions, but in response to Bruce's question, Ned is preparing just a short memo on how they came up and why they settled on that 35, if it was $35.
So we should wait to discuss it until we have a
Well,
chance
you
to
can
read the
discuss it,
memo.
But he's going to supply that and also get the document that Dave was referencing.
Well, that'd be good. We can wait until then.
Yeah,
So
give
we know
him a
what we're
chance to
talking
work.
about, yeah.
Okay. Yep, I think that was worth bringing
And so-
up, but
No, I don't have anything else.
anybody have any other,
Answer that.
any questions for Carrie? Okay, we're on to schedule now, we're moving right along. We have regular select board meetings on Monday, November 18th and December 2nd. Town offices are closed Monday for Veterans Day, and they're closed Thursday, November 28th and Friday, November 29th for Thanksgiving. And lucky us, we have a budget meeting Wednesday, November 20th at 5:30.
A Wednesday I can make.
Yeah, we'll all be there and it'll be good.
Will we have turkey? Oh!
No turkey.
We don't want
Oh.
turkey a week before Thanksgiving.
The only turkey's gonna be here. It's five turkeys are gonna show up.
Yeah,
Mexican.
Excuse me.
we so we are. I want to talk a minute under my little report section that I give myself every agenda, just because we're so important, right? Carrie and I met with the city manager and the mayor's office today. We talked about a pending project that the city and town have agreed to collaborate on to certain extents. And we expect a formal announcement coming from the city and town around maybe a touch before, but probably no later than November 18th. So that's more or less a PSA for the board and then all the staff that who know what's going on. We just want everybody to be on the same page. We talked briefly about our police services and some discussions that we've had during our budget meetings. And actually, it's the first time that I've seen the city manager and the town manager sit across a table and have the town manager be able to tell the city manager what she doesn't like about certain things in our relationship. And it went very well, and it was extremely constructive. And
I don't think it's the first time.
well, the points were well taken.
Not the first time.
First time I've seen it. But it was very constructive, and we talked about how I think it's a consensus of this board that we are going for an RFP next year for police services. There could be bidders from this county or Chittenden County, whoever wants to put a bid in on it. We talked about the importance of making sure that the RFP includes, drug coverage and make sure that we compare bids apples to apples, but everybody's on the same page as far as that goes, so there's no real elephant in the room. If we have to get an update from the chief, they know. We're adequately preparing they're a partner to us in that respect, and we're adequately preparing them ahead of time, and I think that's fair. Other than that, not much. I mean, a couple of things that we could talk about in an executive session before our next meeting, but nothing that's really pressing. Al?
To your point on the drug task force, police budget, there was a news article on Plattsburgh Police Department. Basically started off with the same drug task force that we have. Didn't work out. The statistics didn't show much change in drug use, deaths and all that. So they sat down with that concept and said, okay, what can we do with this money? Much like we were talking about earlier. And they came up with a comprehensive program that involves multiple, like the Justice Center, the hospital, the police department, and I forget some of the others. My thought was that maybe we could either go to Plattsburgh and listen to their presentation on what they're doing, or ask them to come here and tell us, to give us another idea of how we might try to find a more successful means of coping with our drug abuse problem.
Because when we do this RFP next year, like we're talking about, we're going to redefine what exactly we think the town needs for police services. So that could be a very important part of that conversation.
Yep.
My mind has been going the same place as Al's. I mean, there is that group that meets once a month that represents probably 50 different
Right.
prevention organizations
Tomorrow,
in the
or
region.
Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah, it's this Wednesday. And I often wonder if there could be some sort of municipal package that could be presented to the towns, having restorative justice and transportation and
The job
jobs, job training. Like
Housing.
what are their numbers look like for actually decreasing
training. Are you gonna be
drug
there Wednesday?
usage? I think so, yeah,
So maybe we could ask that question.
yeah.
I joined that group, I know,
Boy, that's a surprise. You joined
well,
another group?
they asked me, because he's a member of Rotary, and so we got talking, and he said, why don't you come and listen? And the first meeting was last month that I attended. It's fascinating, all these different groups. And last meeting, they had kids from the high school technical training center, technical center, and they talked about what they're learning and who's helping them. So that's what and I felt I need to more as a citizen, but we also as select people need to know more about what's happening in the community.
I
You
think-
have a great insight into that because of your job.
I think that sounds pretty encouraging because in my mind, I think that the drug task force that we have well, they've arrested some people, drug, whatever you wanna call them, smugglers, whatever. But I don't see where our problem has gone away,
It hasn't.
and it hasn't. And I'm just wondering if there's not another avenue we could take to make it more effective.
The neuroscience has been teaching us so much about addiction now, and what happens to the brain when it gets hit.
I'm a firm believer in education
Yeah.
to drugs, educating the young people.
Well, you
so
can
that
do.
they know how they're gonna ruin their lives.
Well, I can speak to that to an extent. I mean, you get to the 4th grade, and they start
It
immediately.
wasn't that long ago for you.
No, it wasn't really in the grand scheme of things. And there's 2 things that come up when you hit 3rd, 4th grade. Don't bully people, and don't do drugs. And you hear about them almost every day throughout the rest of your high school career until you get to high school. And then it becomes, we don't bully here, and we don't do drugs here, but it's not something that's adequately taught in the classroom anymore. I think there's a drop off there.
Yeah, I think you're right, Brendan, because I hear more, I'm in the school systems, and I'm working with educators every day, and I hear more about bullying than I do drug use right now.
And
Bullying is a bigger thing in schools.
But it's not that they're wrong. It's just
No,
that
it's a problem.
there's not,
Something they gotta deal with.
and it goes to the same extent of we have so few trades in our area, and they're all over the age of 50, except for one guy we've got here is a master plumber, thank God. And the whole time you're in high school, it's go to college, junior year college. If you don't go to college, you're less than. And we've got to start to shift dynamics because this 4-year degree only, or you're like, it just doesn't. It's not working 100%.
You're not
Well, I
considered.
think, policing is important. But we pay a ton of money for policing, and a lot of these organizations can take a much smaller amount of money and turn it into a lot more. And I just wonder
Exactly.
what that could look like.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Good point.
When we get, we're at other business.
Go ahead.
We have no executive session planned. We have the ability to go into one. I'd like to ask for one for 5 minutes to go over something that we talked about with the mayor and the city manager today, while we're on this subject of schools and drug prevention and, maybe working with schools a little bit closer.
So you want a motion?
Does anybody have any other business?
I just was going to add one other business from the Parks Committee, that the work at the town forest has been forging ahead, and I've heard that the trails are looking really beautiful and professional. They're having another work day for anybody in the community who wants to go up there on Sunday morning.
What time?
I'll have to check. I think it's 9. Yeah.
Only if somebody
You're
calls
not up
me.
that early, are you?
The golf course is closed, so I might actually have time to go now. That's-
So I'm looking forward to a tour.
Saturday morning.
Sunday morning. I should
Somewhere
check.
in
Let me
time.
check. Let me check.
And the golf course closed. Today was the first day. And the last day was open was yesterday.
And now you can go hiking.
No, it's like reverse Christmas. The day after the golf course closes is like the exact opposite for Christmas.
One of the guys that worked for me was golfing there. I think he said Saturday he went.
Uh,
And he said that due to the storm, there's a couple of small lakes that appeared.
Oh my god. Yeah, oh yeah, we're on clay up there, but
He said he was standing there and he said he saw the water. It'll go like this. He said,
That was
"Geez,
some
I think-"
storm. But
he said, I think there's some bass in there.
we lost.
There's a guy that just hit a ball in it.
Yeah, we lost a couple of willow trees too.
Willow tree?
It's Sunday at 9:30.
9:30, thank you.
So
Before we
Anybody-
leave other business, I would just like to have Alan tell us about the Halloween storm. How did it affect the town of St. Albans?
We actually made off quite well. We do have some trees down. We spent most of Friday just going around pushing trees off. We will get out and chip them. We just had other projects that had to get done before. A couple culverts had backed up a little bit. We got those opened up. I did see up on French Hill, one of the culverts, a tree about 4 or 5 inch in diameter must have floated down the ditch and got stuck in the culvert, so that made that one overflow and eroded side of the road a little bit. That's like around 193 French Hill, so just up around the corner from you a little ways. So we will be fixing those. Overall, knock on wood, the town actually was spared very well compared to a lot of our neighboring towns. I mean, it's unfortunate this time of the year. Paving plants are shutting down, it's hard to get stone, and these guys have to hustle to get the roads back in before snow fly. So I feel bad for a lot of our neighboring towns.
Okay. Well,
Like I said in Green Mountain, Hathaway Point was without power.
Hathaway, most of the north end, we had to get a pump truck in at our north end pump station before it overflowed, before we got the generator to it. North end had shut down on us. Yeah, there were some power outages. There was a tree against a wire catching on fire over here in the bay. So basically we teamed up and just kept driving the roads and knocking branches and trees out of the road. And that's all we could do. You know, it's
Alan, before we go into the executive session, we had talked, and I don't know the status of it, but we had talked and agreed that since the Old Thorpe Avenue near the Gricebrook subdivision is a class 4, and that we had agreed on Forest Drive off of French Hill to put stone in a class 4, that we would take care of some potholes and put some stone in the road.
we had
Done
done
that, haven't you?
this earlier. I talked to the chair at Gricebrook. He had sent me an email. Both Forest Drive and Gricebrook will have stone in their potholes.
Okay.
I've told on emails to both that it would be done before snow flies.
Thanks, Alan.
Okay. Yeah, I was just
We
checking
made
it.
that commitment to him earlier.
I had and we did
Yes.
do it, but I have been out there. The ditching, I promised them, was all done. We did clean up at the end
Yep.
of it towards the interstate access. They did send me an email thanking me.
I was over there visiting Mr. Cunningham, and I noticed you'd been over there.
So, but I stay pretty true to my word if I
You
get
you
them.
do.
Just,
Hey, you know,
a little
power
slow.
outages, yesterday afternoon, I heard on the radio, they were still reporting like 22,000 families without power.
Yeah.
Al.
One more thing, when we came up to nonprofits and our donations to nonprofits, Red Cross had a opening, a
Right.
bedroom place at
Shelter,
State
Satec, yeah.
And so, you know, I would say maybe we should re-examine another $500 for
What did we do at Red Cross, by the way?
2,500, I think.
Did we leave it the same?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Well, Red Cross is all over the
they were
place.
right there.
Al.
That's it.
Yeah.
I will say, and I know French Hill's a huge topic, but Thursday I did ride around with a woman from Regional Planning, Linda, and it does look like I'll get another grant pilot grant, and I'll be able to take care of 2 troubled culvert spaces that are on French Hill, one being the Beaver Pond near Larry Bruce's, and the other one's actually just past your driveway out at Heaves.
Yeah.
So, we looked at different ways we can take care of that situation, and it looks like we'll get a pretty decent lump of money to take care of those 2.
Sweet.
There is another, the pavement's pulling apart. You may want to put stone in there before.
Yeah, we're gonna get up there, but the process is probably right after you get past Anna's, hammering out some of that ledge, getting the ditch more defined, and doing a bigger cross culvert with cement head walls, because there's a lot of water coming down off that hill, and it's eroding around the culvert, so I think this grant will give us enough money to be able to rent a piece of equipment with a hammer to jackhammer that down and get the right size culverts in.
Nice.
So what's the water table up there? Any idea? I'm just
It's a
wondering
lot
why
of
it
lead,
doesn't,
so there's.
why it
there's no
doesn't wash
soaking in
those
and
roads
out.
out. I'm just wondering why it doesn't wash those roads out, you know?
Well, the base is like
Unless it's because it's all ledge.
that, and there's like 14 inches of pavement in some
Oh, no,
spots of that road.
18 I measured once, when you
Yeah.
guys, when it was cut open 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah, so-
They called me up, I went up there, I couldn't believe it, 18 inches of asphalt.
But yeah. Okay, I don't have anything else from anyone.
You could pave half the town if they ever.
Okay,
did
we're
that.
going to executive session?
Yes, I'd like somebody to make that motion,
So,
please.
which, first motion or second motion?
The both of them.
We are
Um,
not. And there's not likely to be any motions made out of executive session.
no, definitely not.
Thanks for coming.
Well,
Yep.
So who made the motion?
they want to say anything?
No?
Nope.
No, they did.